So welcome everybody. Thank you all for joining me today. We are going to be going deep into, building power. This whole course is about building power, understanding power, and functional, practical ways to build your not just mental, spiritual power, but astral power, skills development for everyday life, so you can enrich your life and the lives of the people that you love. And that's what this whole course is about. In this first foundational course, it's just that it's setting the foundation for your spiritual practice, which is very, very necessary for you to have. If you don't have a foundation, then there's no way that you could possibly practice appropriately, because you're too worried about bills, food, you might end up in debt, all the anxiety and stuff that comes with that. It's very, very important to develop a very healthy relationship with your finances and having that structure, that earth element to keep you grounded so you can practice accordingly. And this is something that is misunderstood in a lot of spiritual circles. Some circles and paths and teachers and gurus and monks and everything else will tell you, oh, well, it's godly to be poor, or you have to be super meek, and money is evil, and they always use that type of terminology. Money is the root of all evil, and it's not that at all. But your relationship to it is very, very important. And we'll talk about a couple different types of psychology, relating to your finances and structure and everything else. We'll talk about practical ways for you to develop a very healthy, spiritual relationship with it, where it will always flow into your life. Whenever there's a need for it, it will always be there. But it's certain things you have to develop to achieve that. And it's very, very powerful. So this is what this first session is going to be. Before we get into that, I want to share about, the course overall, because we've done, tons of other courses, starting with, mastering the elements, psychic development, magical invocation, the True Kabbalah, which True Kabbalah we're still doing, the Master Key and everything else. This one is going to differ vastly because we're building actual power. The first ones, we're building your awareness. These are the foundational tools you need to develop your intuition, develop your spirit senses, so your spirit can be grounded in your everyday life, and you can, be guided by that higher aspect of you. And that's what, that's the easiest way to ascend, is to have access to that type of universal consciousness. And that's what all the past courses were for. This one specifically, it's for building power. We are building literal power, mentally, astrally, physically, in order for you to use that as a platform to develop yourself. One of the things to look at when we're developing power, because there's all types of different skills and then cool things you can do with your energy, with your mind, with your spirit, with your, wherever you're at in the spiritual hierarchy, there's tons of different things that you can do. The dangerous part about this is that there's no truth in building pure power. And you'll see a lot of people who, build pure power, and, their philosophy and stuff, when it's tied to energy and power, is kind of psychotic. So you don't want to go in that direction. So it's very important to balance that out. You can even look at people that engage in like martial arts, right? They're building literal power, mentally, astrally, physical power. And the way that they mitigate the fire element, the yang combat attitude with that, is through meditation, and you have to have both. If you find yourself in a gym and you have a master that's teaching you and they don't go into the meditative aspects, odds are they're going to end up being bullies and gain supernatural personalities and stuff, because that's what power does. That's what power does. You can look at people who aren't training power in a spiritual sense, right? But they have, power over people, or power, with money, finances. They have some type of, status and things like that. If they don't have the balance aspect, then it's very, very easy for them to. It's very, very easy for them to get gain that supernatural personality. And the same thing could happen with you. So very important to balance that out. So we'll be doing a lot of that as we're building our awareness. We're going to go step by step through the causation chain on how to develop power. So we're going to, in this, we're talking about, your earth element, your stability, developing a healthy relationship with your finances, so it's always there, so you can be a practitioner in whichever form or you are. You can be a healer, teacher, you can be a scientist, you can be a mother, you can be a whatever you are. If you're a bricklayer, whatever it is, it's important for you to develop a proper relationship if you want to grow spiritually and be able to practice and unlock all the keys to the universe and everything else. And everybody has their different philosophy on it, so we're gonna break it down. Feel free, if you have any questions, you can drop it in the chat. I can only see the chats that are in the Zoom meeting. I can't see the ones that's on TikTok and Instagram. But if you have any questions as I'm going through this and covering some things, feel free and drop them. So when it comes to understanding your relationship to your finances and stuff, like on a spiritual level, you get all types of different input from people. One of my mentors, Sifu Rasmus, he used to be a monk, and he, one of the things that he shared, being a monk, he thought that it was, the spiritual thing to do is to not seek money, because they have that idea and concept that money is the root of all evil and everything else. And like his words directly, like that was the stupidest thing he could have ever thought. It's just not true. But people build that relationship with it, and it can be a huge negative, taking on other people's relationship to different things, and everybody's relationship to it is different. But there's tuning forks you can set up so it's always there, so you can build a healthy relationship to it. One of the greatest levels of philosophy when it comes to your earth element and building wealth and your spiritual relationship with it comes from Wallace D. Wattles, and I resonate with this completely, because he says, understanding that you are God in manifestation, right, and that everything in the universe is already provided for you, right? You just have to take ownership of it, and God, the universal mind, infinite intelligence, divine providence, however you would like to frame it in your own relationship, allows for abundance, to the limit in which you can access it. As much as you can wrap your head around, that's how much life you can live. And this applies to everybody. There's nothing keeping you from living out your wildest dreams. The only thing from that is, your relationship to it, your own self-image, how you relate to your abundance, to your divine abundance. You can look at every other being in this physical plane, and for the most part, everything that they could ever need is provided for them. And we are not different. Now, people will complain and say, oh, well, they don't have to work a job. That's your relationship to it. It's already there. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this in your own life, where, oh, I had to pay this bill. I didn't know how everything was going to work out. And boom, everything worked out. I mean, you're still here. You didn't just like disappear or die or anything like that. But, your relationship to it matters. So when it comes to building a proper relationship, that the universe, God, infinite intelligence, the universal mind, and hermetics, right, will provide you with as much life as you're capable of living and conceiving and relating to. So thinking about that when it comes to your finances, right, it's all a relationship-based thing. It's a type of consciousness. As we go through this course, you'll get a sense of understanding, right, and relationship, that even the higher level metaphysical skills, you're relating to consciousness. This is why the first principle of hermetics is the principle of mentalism. The universe is mind. Everything is mind. Everything has a spirit. Now, the spirit of finances, the spirit of money, the spirit of developing clairvoyance, the spirit of whatever, right? And we hear this in everyday life, that people who have no training in spiritual matters or anything say, oh, in the spirit of blank, we're going to do this in the spirit of this, because subconsciously, spiritually, we all know this. So your relationship to, as the natives say, the Navajo say, the great spirit, the universal spirit, universal mind, your relationship to God, and building that relationship and knowing that that's where your abundance comes from gives you a greater opportunity to take access to it. And I'm gonna break this down in many different ways and give you practical ways to access this. But most rich people know this, like the really, really, like all the Freemasons, all the Rosicrucians, all the, the people in power, there's a reason why, Hermetics is what it is, and why, people who understand the Hermetic sciences are people that run the world and shape the world. On any end of the spectrum, because they develop that relationship with the universal mind, with God. And that's why, even to be a Freemason, you have to believe in a higher power. You have to believe in God, because that's your relationship to consciousness. First principle of Hermetics is everything is mind, everything is spirit, everything is, essentially God, right? And knowing that relationship. The way that Wallace D. Wattles describes it is, you can break it down in like Qigong, right? There is this infinite intelligence. It's this mind substance in which, when you implant a thought into that mind substance, it creates ripples throughout the ether in order for that ripple to come back into your experience. So your thoughts, your personal image, your relationship to it really, really matters. And this is going to be your container, is how much life, I say life because it's a general thing, not just your finances. How much life can you conceive of living? All right. So how much, not just how much life can you conceive of living, how much money can you achieve? Can you attain? And there's no limit to that other than your own personal relationship and image of, oh, I believe I can do this. I believe I can do that. And this is very, very important to look at. If you can read all the other books, Think and Grow Rich and everything else, and it's all the basic principle, your own relationship, your own self-image to it, your relationship to it matters. And most of what's out there is not real. It's whatever you want it to be. Everything is essentially true and untrue at the same time. You live your own subjective truth. No two people have the same relationship to anything, especially when it comes to finances. So, I've heard, Warren Buffett isn't into crypto. Crypto has created more millionaires over the past couple years than any other thing ever. So yes, Warren Buffett has a lot of money, but his relationship to it and how to gain it is completely different than, some of the newer generation who has attained money, and it's different. That's their relationship to it. There's no one correct way, but developing your own proper relationship to it is very, very important. And on the spiritual level, being able to observe your relationship to it and to change it matters, because everything in your entire reality is based off of this relationship. Your relationship to that thing, especially when it comes to finances. We are taught when we're younger, especially if you're here in the U.S., that you have to work really hard. You have to work really, really hard in order to, make a lot of money and make a living, to live the American dream. And that's the furthest thing from, the truth. There is a level of, yes, you have to put your foot forward and be active in order to, attain, wealth. Yes. But this idea is you have to work 12 hours a day, sweating to the bone in order for you to be wealthy is quite the opposite. That's not real. That's not real. Will you do that at some point in your life? Yes, I've done it. I used to work 12 hours a day, 6-7 days a week for years, like literally sweating to death in the factory, fully covered from head to toe. hard hat on, glasses, gloves, long sleeves, long pants, steel toe boots, mask on, next to an oven and it's 25 degrees, and I'm working out, moving aluminum beams for 12 hours a day, and it served me then. I got paid a decent amount of money to do it, and it served me then, help out my work ethic, but that's not how you become rich. That's not how you, become rich. But my relationship to it then was, I'm trading my time for money. But it doesn't have to be that. And I mean that. It does not have to be that. So this idea of, we have to work really, really hard and that's it, comes from, in Kabbalah, they say that if you look at your job as this is what's paying me, my job, my boss, Johnson and Johnson Corporation. I don't know. First thing that came to mind. Whatever your workplace is, and this is who pays me. This is the only stream of income I have, and that's where my money comes from. In Kabbalah, they say that's a type of idolatry. That's idol worship. You're worshiping this entity, right? It's a literal corporate entity, right? It's an entity you're worshiping, saying that this is the only means of my abundance and stream of income and finances, when it's not that at all, in the grand scheme of things at a higher spiritual level, if you go from that type of psychology into, okay, well, this is the means in which God has given me to receive this, but this is not where I put my focus and my energy into saying that this is my only stream of income and it can only come from this place. If you broaden your mind, if you expand your mind into the universal mind and know that God is providing that for you and there's many other ways that it can come for you, then literally your mind expands out through the ethers and connects with all the different possibilities and places and people and things and other outcomes and stuff in a universal nature to allow those streams to flow into your experience. So once again, the frequency of your mind, your own relationship to it, and how you view it matters tremendously. But this applies to everything. This is a universal thing. This is a universal thing. It's understanding that relationship, So understand that your job is one of the ways that the universal mind or infinite intelligence, your higher self, however you want to relate to it. If you're in a, more traditional, type of religious, God in whichever form, this is one of the means in which God allows me to receive my divine abundance is very, very important to develop that, but to be open that this is not it. And once you are able to expand your mind into greater possibilities, then literally greater possibilities come. But if you're just single track, this is just it, that's what you're going to get. And you could apply that principle to anything, literally anything, So that's just like the base level of understanding. A practice I want everybody to do. So I'm sure everybody has their notebook, right? And we're going to do this. We've done this before in some of the other, other sessions and stuff. Get your notebook, and we're going to sit a second, and we're going to do this quick we'll do a 1 minute, 30-second, 1 minute meditation. And, it's beginning of the year. We have our resolutions and everything. I want you to write down, what's your ideal income? This year, and put in this year, my ideal income is X amount. For some people, depending on where you're at, I'm on the West Coast right now, in the Midwest, 60 grand is great. You can live really, really good, $60,000 and be good, here, not so much. For some people, $100,000, $150,000, $200,000, $3 million, and sky's the limit from there. So I want you to write down, and literally write down, this is how much money I want to make, yearly, and then sit down and just meditate on it. Observe that thought, and allow your own consciousness, allow your astral body, allow your spirit to let you know what is your relationship to it. because it matters. And you can start low. You can move that scale, start low. And this is how you can gauge how much resistance you have to where you want to be, because it's there. So when we go deeper into this course, right, next week we're going into Alchemy 101, literally energy awareness, developing your ability to work with the energy, and then to use that energy to literally change your personality traits, to literally alchemize and raise the frequencies of the energies that are part of who and what you are. And then from there we go to expanding outward into spaces and helping other people and, different realms and everything else. But right now we're working with the self and getting to know thyself. So Myra says, does it have to be an exact amount? It doesn't have to be an exact amount. You don't have to get it right down to the cent. But, you can start low. So just sit, get in a comfortable position. It could be your, meditative position, and just sit quietly and say, okay, cool. This year I'm going to make, do 20 grand more than what you already make. 30 grand. Okay, cool. And sit for a second and just listen. Okay, this year I'm going to make 75 grand, and just sit and listen. You're not trying to provoke or invoke any feelings or anything, and just listen and just literally reflect. Can I do this? Can I relate to this? And if everything is just real safe and calm, then yeah, there's a part of your being that's like, yeah, we got this. Yeah, we got this. This is a for sure thing. And now watch. And this is how, your spirit relates to you through your sensory system, very, very deeply. And this is a really good skill to start to develop. So, okay, we're going to move the scale a little bit further. Add another $30,000, $40,000 to that. This year, I'm going to align myself to making this much money. All right, and just listen. And just hold that thought in your mind. Like, say you're not generating any type of emotion or anything. You're not straining or anything. Just sitting and relaxing. And just listen to your body. Feel your feelings. And when you get to a certain point, right? Some of you guys might already be there. You might feel resistance. You might feel a type of anxiety, a type of worry. It's a part of your being that might say, nah, I don't think we can do that. Like, no, like, how could I ever do that? Now, is that the truth? Nah. But is that your relationship to it? Definitely. Right? And if you haven't felt that yet, keep going. And this is the thing. Like, remember, when you write something down, you're taking the light of your mind substance, and you are crystallizing that idea, that concept into this physical realm as a placeholder for your mind and intentions to function. So you write down this amount. This is where we're going. And like I said, if you have resistance to it, it will show. So, go a little bit further. Do like your ideal amount. Your ideal amount. Cool, I want to make, $2 million a year. Easy, from there. Listen. Do you feel that you can make $2 million a year? Do you have resistance? Right? Now that resistance is what we have to alchemize and release. Because that's what's going to stop you. Anytime that you start to engage something or step outside of your box, your mental box that you've created, that literal energy is going to tell you, no, you can't do that. It's going to tell you, no, don't you want to go just eat a cheeseburger? You could be on your way to, where, your greatest business partner you will ever meet will be, in this meeting or something. And that literal energy that feels uncomfortable, that anxiety, that part of you is literally telling you, nah, we can't do that. It will literally come up to the surface of your mind and create a story and tell you, no, let's go do something else. And this applies to everybody. Everybody has their limits, their container, So stepping outside of that box is very, very, very important. But you have to recognize what the box is. And it's your own self-image, your own self-belief and your relationship to that abundance, that I'm just going to keep it at that abundance that you are divinely aligned to by just being who and what you are. Everybody aligns yourself to as much life and abundance as they could possibly use in this lifetime, but you have to recognize that you have to take ownership of your own divinity, and this applies to finances. This applies to your stability. This applies to that if you want to, especially if you're doing it for the sake of others, but if you want to live as much life as you're possibly able to live and experience as much beauty and be able to travel and to, share that with others, then literally you will make a way. God will make a way. The universe will make a way. But you have to see yourself as being able to do it. Now, the thing with this, when you begin to develop this type of consciousness and relate to it in this way, there's going to be negative habits, learned behaviors, other things that will come up to the surface. And it's part of the reason why you may have the relationship with your finances that you have now, is because of that. Maybe your parents were like real frugal and, they only bought, off-brand everything, and they penny pinched and, oh, we got to save this and everything else. And that was their relationship to their finances, and you took that on. And everything has to be the worst, and you have one-ply toilet paper in your house. Please don't do that. If you're that type of person, I'm sending my prayers and blessings to you. For sure. But, that's a learned behavior. That's a learned relationship. And the way that karma works is, there's tons of things that are a staple in our consciousness that we had no other choice but to take on. But it's not our karma. It's from our parents, from religion, from our community, from, society, from the collective, from social media, from other influencers and stuff like that. There's lots of different things that we take on that aren't grounded in truth, and we take on other people's relationship to things. So being able to recognize this and looking at your relationship to everything, not just your finances, is this a proper relationship to it? Because no two people live the same reality. They don't have the same perceptions. They don't even see the same colors. Right? So your relationship to everything in your reality is your relationship. It's not, this is what the truth is. This is my truth. This is my perception. This is my reality. You have the ability to change that and to develop your own proper relationship with it. Now, how do we do this? How do we do this? How do we get to the point in which we can develop this proper relationship and allow it to flow into our experience? Well, one, you have to see it. You have to want it. You have to open up that gate. The easiest way to begin to do this, there's several different really easy ways to do it, is affirmations. Affirmations work wonderfully. One of my favorite metaphysicians is Florence Scovel Shinn, and I've shared a lot of her work before. But her affirmations when it comes to abundance and wealth, really, really powerful. You can train your subconscious mind. Okay, cool. This is where I'm going. You have to take on the idea and the identity of this is my relationship to it. This is how it works. And the more that your mind can relate to it in a proper way, you begin to see it literally manifest in your life. And I mean that. And a large part of it is the type of faith you have to have in it, especially if you've been living in poverty consciousness, which is just that. It's a type of consciousness, just like wealth consciousness. It's a type of consciousness. It's a type of psychology. And it's a, I look at poverty as a disease of the mind. Because I'm from there. I grew up in the hood and around people that are stuck in this idea that there's a system out there that's meant to keep you poor, and it's trying to hold you down and everything else, when that's simply not true. Is the system perfect? No, but the system is designed for you to live as much life as you can, and for you to, in America, especially here in America, there's not many places in the world where you can grow up dirt poor and then become a millionaire in a very, very short amount of time. But the only thing that stops you from that is your own relationship and your own, psychology when it comes to relating to it. Some of the greatest corporations and businesses ever created were created by people who have no education, middle school education. And I mean that. Like hundreds of them have created legacies and then billion-dollar companies from people that have a middle school education. So there's nothing outside stopping you from achieving that. There's no system, there's no man, there's no anything, And we could talk about the school system and everything else, but we sign ourselves up for that. But the ability to step outside of that, use that as a platform to get to where you want to be. A lot of us go through those institutions and those types of experiences so we can get to know them and have a type of empathy and stuff like that for the people that's in that, because it's a level of consciousness that you're stuck in. But once you expand beyond that, oh wow, I can see it from the inside out and work with it from there. But there's no, boogeyman or anything keeping you down. And the more that you can access this and change your relationship, then you can start to see it, and it will literally manifest in your life. So affirmations. Then how do you take advantage of affirmations? The most influential way is to do it while you sleep. Anything that we take on into our sleeping state, once we move into the theta and delta ranges, your subconscious mind continues to work on. It continues to ingrain this into your subconscious on a really, really deep level. So you can listen to affirmations as you go to sleep. You can tell yourself affirmations. We talked about this in the astral projection course with the mind machines. It's a brain entrainment machine. It looks like a little MP3 player. It's only a couple companies that make them, so there's no push into like making this technology greater, because it's only like two, three companies that make them. But it looks like an MP3 player. But it's really, really great. You can literally put on a program, drops you into a certain brainwave state depending on what that program is, and you can even hook up an auxiliary cord and create your own affirmations and play it while your brain is in that theta and delta state where you have deep access to your subconscious mind, and you can change your relationship to finances and money and how it flows into your life, and you will literally see it manifest as such. Very, very simple. You don't even have to get into the deeper metaphysical aspects and magic and alchemy and working with energy and entering the different realms and connecting, doing deity yoga to, different, wealth gods and goddesses and bodhisattvas and stuff like that. Simple way to do it. Really simple way to do it. And then to take advantage of it, you act upon it. Don't just state an affirmation and then don't align to it. Don't act upon the affirmation. That's like praying for something and then laying in bed and hoping it happens. It does not work that way. The law of manifestation, everything starts from the mental plane into the astral. It generates a feeling, right? A desire. And then you act upon that desire to bring it into physical manifestation. Everything in all of creation was created this way. So you can't just state an affirmation and just be like, wealth is going to flow to me freely. And then just lay in bed and it just comes. So yeah, give me 1 second. I'm going to send this link to somebody real quick. So that's in, I think in the Bible where they say faith without works is dead. That's kind of what we're looking at when it comes to your subconscious programming, when it comes to developing yourself, when it comes to accessing your divine abundance. Because once again, we all have this. We literally all have access to it, but you have to take advantage and act upon it. All right. So just putting that out there. There's a bunch of comments and stuff in the chat. When we did the thing, it says, what's that link? Okay, I'm just going to keep going. All right, so that's one way, affirmations, right? Another way to do it is, once again, your own self-image, changing your relationship, along with subconscious programming. Remember that the spiritual realms, or your subconscious mind, the mental and astral realms, that's what the spiritual realms are. They're interacting with your subconscious, it's energy, right? And changing your relationship to it. It's many, many, many different ways. So we have affirmations, we have your magic journaling. Once again, we talked about when you write something down, you're crystallizing a thought, an idea, mind substance into this physical form as a placeholder for that thing to manifest. This is why they say when you write something, it's spelling. You're creating a spell, you're putting a spell, you're programming your subconscious mind to align to this thing in which you have crystallized into physical form for a placeholder to manifest. Same thing as working with a crystal grid or, anything else. That's what magic is. Magic is literally the use of electromagnetic forces, right? Or mind substance to influence your subconscious mind for a particular outcome. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you can write out, this is where I'm going. This is what I'm doing. That's why people have vision boards and things like that. They have a physical representation of what they are aligning themselves to. But once again, you have to act upon it. You have to act upon it. You can't say, oh, I'm going to go in this direction and that's just it. But there's even levels to it. There's even levels to that. Now, if you're in business, right? If you have whatever you're doing, if you're a healer, teacher, you have a product, you're, whatever it is, there's levels to the plane of finances, right? There's competitive and creative. If you're in a competitive plane, you will not be able to sustain indefinitely. If you're in that field, if you're in the creative plane, then you can always create. You are a creator. When you're looking at your relationship to the universe, right, to the collective, the more you create for the benefit of others, you will always have a platform to create. And you have this abundance of knowledge and insight in which, especially if you're doing it for the sake of the whole, that information will constantly flow to you. But if you're in a competitive plane, then, we have to beat out this person. We have to go into this dualistic type of thing and everything in this battle. Your whole, your finances and your business structure are based off of this battle. But if you get into the state of, I am a creator. I'm creating wealth. I'm creating value. You become a conductor for higher frequencies of creation. And that's what we're here for. That's the nature of the universe. You're aligning yourself to divine principles because, okay, cool, I am a creator and I'm doing this for the expansion and the evolution of, the collective. And it doesn't have to be the whole collective. It could be for your city. It could be for people that only like A, B, and C, whatever it is. But if you get into that creative state for the sake of others, boom, you become a conduit for that. And it's very, very powerful. And this brings me to, even going deeper into that idea and concept. So people that's been with me for a while, done some of my other courses, that one of the greatest ways for you to grow and evolve spiritually is to do it for the sake of others. And the way that this affects you is profound. It's really deeply profound. In Buddhism, we have this concept of the Bodhisattva vow, in which a being, a student, a monk, will take a vow that for them to achieve nirvana, right? That they're not just doing it for them. They're liberating themselves for the sake of others. And they establish this vow that they're not doing it for them. They're doing it for every sentient being in all of creation. And because they establish this vow, their experience mentally, astrally, physically aligns to that vow because they're not just doing it for them. We talked about in the beginning is your mind is a container. What is the space in which your mind is inhabiting? Are you small-minded? And that's a literal representation of, the collective understanding these divine principles without even going deep into the philosophy of it. When they say, oh, you're small-minded, yes, your mind becomes small and boxed in and contained within the self, and everything you do is just for me. Now, if it's just for you, you don't need to know a lot. You don't need to experience a lot. You don't need a lot of money. You don't need all these other things. But if you're doing it for, your community, boom, your mind becomes greater. How can I help my friends, my family, the people who I interact with every day? Your mind literally expands, and then the needs and wants of those people will pull through you. You can expand even greater. I'm doing this for my country. I'm doing this for every sentient being in all of creation. And the container of your mind goes from being small to infinite. And your mental, astral, and physical experience and financial experience will literally begin to match that because the needs of the collective will begin to pull through you. And this is a universal principle. They don't write books about people who just do things for themselves. People do not change the course of humanity just doing things for themselves. All the greats, all the people who win Nobel Prizes and written in the history books, they're doing things for the collective. They devote their life, I'm doing this for them, and they become great. Their experience matches that. But establishing a vow, I'm doing this for, something greater than yourself. Your mind literally expands, and you can apply this to your financial gain too. So you can write it down. You can write down your vow. Say you're in a tough position, right? Especially for those of you that are actual mystics and following the Hermetic path. You can even write out a vow that, my ability to generate money and wealth and understand it, right, is for the benefit of all those people who I'm going to teach how to attain it. How to develop a proper relationship to it. Or, you can use that type of psychology. Write out the vow. This is what I vow to do. And literally, your mental, astral, physical, financial experience will reflect that. And once again, you're programming your subconscious mind. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and everything aligns to that. Remember, the law of manifestation, everything starts mentally, astrally, physically. It becomes a physical manifestation of what you're tuning into mentally and spirit. So you can use that type of psychology. And you can look at whatever your goals are, whatever your intentions are. And if you're just doing it for you, you may have a level of success. But if you're doing it for the benefit of others, that success will match that you're seeking to give others. And it's a very, very beautiful thing. So you can look at whatever your path is. Once again, if you're a teacher, healer, a sociologist, if you're a psychologist, if you're a bricklayer, architect, if you're whatever you are, if you're doing what you're doing for the sake of others, you will have far greater successes, as opposed to doing it just for you. And I promise you that. It's a very, very, very powerful way to, to relate to it. Very, very powerful. And you can apply this in many different ways to many different things. And there's ways to amplify that too. But if you want to go deep into that, you have to join the other sessions for that. So, ponder that, really, really think of what your relationship to it is. And you can look at everything, that you relate to and use that same principle. Now, once again, your own self-image is what's going to stop you from achieving everything that you want to achieve. And when we talk about mastering the elements, when we talk about, stepping outside of your box, once again, your mind is a container. It can be limited or it can be infinite. And the more that you break your barriers and you step outside of your fears, you do the things that, when we looked at, I'm going to make X amount of money, and that anxiety started to come up, and it's a part of you that's like, yeah, I can't do that. That right there, that's your container. That's what you're a slave to. But you can shatter that and become infinite in all ways. Right? So you have to look at your negatives. You have to look at these things that you take on that tell you that I'm limited in this way. That I'm limited in this, whatever way, shape, or form. And you have to break through those barriers, because that's your container. That's the cage in which you put yourself in, the box in which you put yourself in. And there's tons of ways to break through those barriers. One, just, if you're a fire personality, just break through it. Fire people like to push yourselves and push their limits. If you're a water personality, they like to be social. They find a group that's looking to achieve the same things, and dealing with the same things, and the power of the group will help get you there. If you're an air personality, very simply, studying it more, understanding it more, looking at it through a scientific lens, and as we go deeper into this course, right, we're going to be covering the scientific aspects of everything too, because everything has a physical scientific correlation. So for those people that are completely dualistic and they're like, no, science says this and the spiritual aspect is not real, they're delusional. The scientists of the past, the ones that have created the sciences in which everybody, hold as fact. They were all magicians. They were all, literal mystics. All the physicists and everything else, they were Freemasons. They were all, the magicians and the scientists were the same people. There was no separation until the Catholic Church wanted to, control people and literally pillaged millions, hundreds of millions of people into believing a certain thing, and killed anybody else that was trying to, spread truth and to tap into their divine aspects. But the scientists and the mystics, the magicians, right, were the same people. So there's always a physical, scientific correlation. It's causal. Everything is causal, even in magic and alchemy. In spiritual aspects, there is it's the same thing. It's not a separation of that. So looking at the physical, scientific aspects of how these principles play out, those will come up to the surface too. Marivella says, where does gratitude come into play in a relationship to this type of abundance? That is most definitely a very, very, very good question. So one of the things to really take advantage of this, right? And I'm going to share like more practices and stuff too. But from right now, that's, the things that everybody can practice is, gratitude and contentment with where you're at. And contentment and complacency are two completely different things. Gratitude and contentment is very, very important, and to exercise that right here, right now, where you're at. Because only thing that you have right now is what you have right now. This is your platform to get to where you want to be. And God, the universe, the universal mind, infinite intelligence, Brahma, whatever, however you relate to Allah, however you relate to the intelligence of nature, which is perfect in indescribable ways, right? Gave you the platform right here, right now, as a stepping stone for you to live as much life as you can possibly conceive. So showing gratitude and contentment with that, and knowing that that's all you have to work with. People get into this idea and concept that, oh, if I only had this, then I would achieve this. Or if this thing happened, and then I will go in this direction. No, you have everything you need right here, right now to get to where you want to be. But you have to, once again, see it. There's no, tomorrow never comes. Tomorrow never comes. I spent 13 years smoking cigarettes. It was not until, I literally said, okay, I'm not going to quit tomorrow. I'm quitting right here, right now. Boom. I just bought a pack of cigarettes. And then I didn't even throw it away. I looked at somebody, no, you're not going to quit. Here you go. You want these? Boom. I took one out halfway through it. Yeah, screw this. I'm done. Right here, right now. You have to make a conscious decision. Boom. This is where I'm going. And you have to want it. One of my friends back in South Bend, Ray, one thing that really stuck with me, and he told me this back in like 2011. He's like, when it comes to making money, when it comes to being successful, you have to want it as much as you want to breathe. You have to want it as much as you want to breathe, as you want to live. If not, then you're showing that you want everything else more than that. Right? I want to say that if you have this idea, oh, I want to be rich, or I want to, travel the world, or I want to do that, right? Well, there's a causation chain in which you have to align to get that. Just laying in your bed all day ain't gonna get there. Just working your 9 to 5 and not working on your goals or anything like that is not gonna get you there. Right? You have to want it, and you have to align yourself and know that you can get it, because you can. And your platform to get there is everything that you have now. You have everything you need right here, right now to get to where you want to go. You do. And if you don't have 100% of it, then boom, you create those bridges and you get there. But you have to have a type of contentment and gratitude for who and what you are right here and right now. It's the reason you're watching this now. There's a part of your spirit that guided you here today. If it wasn't a part of you that wanted to achieve everything that you could possibly conceive of, you would not be here. And it's there. So take advantage of it. Most definitely take advantage of it and show gratitude for what you have. And as you start to build the bridge of faith, because it takes that, especially on the spiritual level, because wealth on the spiritual level is not what people think of when you think of wealth. Once again, your divine abundance is always there, but you have to take advantage of it. You have to literally welcome it into your life. Just like every other thing spiritual, you have to have space in your mind for that thing to come through. Because if not, you're just going to, block yourself off from it. You're going to cut yourself off from it, and you won't be able to see it for what it is. But you have to welcome your divine abundance. You can go into prayer. Prayer is one of the easiest ways to do it. And I mean that. When you go through prayer, there's a vibrational scale of prayer. As soon as you put your hands, in front of your heart center in the prayer mudra, the moment you do it, a sense of humility comes over you. You're humbling yourself to something greater than you, right? You're humbling yourself to that. And then you become still, level of sacredness comes up to the surface, level of stillness, when every single part of your being becomes really, really still. And it's like, shut up, we're praying. The bacteria on your skin, the feelings, emotion, the static in your mind, it's like, shut up, be still. Through that level of stillness and sacredness of prayer, you have access to your subconscious mind. People meditate, right, for decades and still won't develop the level of equanimity and stillness that prayer puts you in. I want everybody to fully grasp that and understand that. Entering into prayer is your quickest doorway to equanimity and stillness. Literally, you can spend a decade of prayer, of meditating with monks and not get to the level of stillness and equanimity and sacredness is just entering into prayer and have that much access to, to say the Bodhi mind, or the ability to see universal law and have access to your subconscious mind. So prayer works very, very well. And the deeper the sacredness and reverence, right, that you have, you can implant ideas, concepts into your subconscious. In the Hermetic view, you're not praying to anything outside of yourself. The essence of your spirit is a vibrational match to God. This applies to everybody. That's why, and even in the Bible, say we're made in God's image. You have the same creative capacity. You are God in physical form. That's how creation evolves, is through the law of manifestation. Your thoughts, your feelings, the way you act upon your feelings creates, how we create and expand, this physical plane. So this is how, relating to it. So you can put a prayer literally and just align yourself. You put a prayer into your mental body, completely into your spirit. Boom, I'm aligning myself for, to allow my divine abundance to come into my life. And then allowing those gates to flow. Once again, the Florence Scovel Shinn affirmations, use those as prayers. Same thing. You can do it through that. And allow that abundance to flow. Astrally, you can put a prayer into your astral body. Boom, I pray that, I have the right feeling, urges to act upon and to bring in my divine abundance. Because one of the ways that, the infinite spirit, the universal mind relates to us, our subconscious, our very own spirit, relays information to us through our sensory system, our feelings. When you're going in the right direction, this feels good. Where something sounds like a bad idea. Yeah, that sounds stupid. Nothing in me wants to go. And then you go anyway and bad things happen. That part of you, that's a spirit sense. That's part of your own divinity, your psychic abilities and psychic awareness. It's there. So you can put a prayer into your astral awareness that have the right, action, right feeling to act upon the things that are going to bring me my abundance. It's going to feel good when I'm going in the right direction. It's not going to feel good if if I'm going in the wrong direction. And you can put a prayer in that and everything will align to that. And then you have to take physical action upon it. Mentally, astrally, physically. And these are just simple concepts, simple divine principles to get to where you want to go. It's not complicated. Universal knowledge is not complicated. If anybody, is speaking on Dharma, universal law, and things like that, and they're giving it to you in a way that's really hard to understand, that means they do not understand it. The universal principles are simple. They're very simple. It's universal. It applies to everything universally. It's not this overly complicated. Well, if you, I'm not even going to go into it. You don't have to go into any of that. But just understanding the way the subconscious mind works, which is the spiritual realms. And you have access to it. It's who and what you are. So aligning yourself to the outcomes that are going to work for you, very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. You can do it simply through the act of prayer. Another, other ways to do it, since we're moving more towards the spiritual aspects, is, you have your spirit guides, you have your spiritual help, your spiritual, guidance and heritage, right? And you can call upon that through prayer. Go into prayer, boom, you can literally invoke it up to the surface. Anybody who ever communicates with their spirit guide and stuff like that, know that you have to believe in it. The astral is a belief-based thing. It's like money is a belief-based thing. If you believe it's going to be really hard for you to get it, guess what? Self-fulfilling prophecy. It's there. If you know that it just takes a really good idea and act upon it, and other people who's in relation to that their experience will reflect that, then it's a belief-based thing, and it happens. So developing that belief and taking advantage of it. Same thing with your spirit guides and your spirit team. Hey, look, show me the way, help me, guide me to the right information. And you can train your subconscious mind so you will always have that right information. But you have to invoke it up to the surface. And there's a lawfulness to that too, But if you want to get super deep into that, we might do a part 2 of this. So just sharing that. Moving more into like some of the higher spiritual practices when it comes to your stability, to your finances, right? Working with different wealth deities and stuff like that works very, very well. Some of them have karma attached to them, some of them don't. So I speak a lot on Hermetics and Buddhism because they are super closely related. A lot of the same teachings are the same thing, different name, same thing. It's all about how do you liberate your spirit and enter into nirvana or commune and become one again with the God self or the infinite spirit, and then even how to transcend that level of consciousness. So directly related, a lot of the same teachings. But all the bodhisattvas and beings within the framework of Buddhism, they all take that bodhisattva vow we were talking about before, in which, they dedicate their, existence for the benefit of others. So there's no negative karma that comes attached to that. So when you're working with any of the Buddhist deities, literally it's no exchange. It's not like, you're going to help me do this or anything like that. And it doesn't reflect as this astral attachment type thing and all this weird karma and stuff that comes up to the surface. Natasha says, is there one we could start with? Wealth deities? Yes. And this is where I'm getting to. I'll name like a few others, but once again, in the realm of Buddhism, they have Zambala. Zambala is the Buddha of wealth, and the primary reason why I'm doing this session is so you understand the type of psychology needed in order for you to become a true practitioner, and which you will always have that stability and peace of mind that your finances are always taken care of. And it happens. It's an actual thing, but it's a level of consciousness that you have to develop. One of the ways to get there is deity yoga. It's one of the easiest ways to get there. And Zambala is one of those levels of consciousness to connect with. For those of you that's not familiar with deity yoga, there's tons of different types of deity yoga in actual yoga and in Buddhism. You're connecting to a level of consciousness, a pool of mantric tantric energies, which literally manifest in your thoughts, your feelings, your actions as a particular concept and idea. Just like if you go to, I don't know, your Baptist church or whatever, the light of Jesus will manifest through your thoughts and your actions. And you're going to look at everything as if they're teaching actual Christ consciousness, not this, but if you're going to, stereotypical, American Christian beliefs, you're going to be in this dualistic realm and you're going to view things through, the 10 Commandments and things like that. But if you're tuning into Christ consciousness, you're going to see the oneness of all. You're going to see God in everything. So when connecting to Zambala, same thing happens, right? And this consciousness of Zambala is, as a practitioner, once again, you will always have what you need to get to where you want to be, because you cannot be a practitioner. You cannot, grow and evolve yourself or even be able to share your knowledge and wisdom freely and purely if you're worried about where your next meal is going to come from or how your rent is going to get paid. And it's a very, very powerful thing. And when we're looking at deities, and I mean this through any pantheon, in the Hermetic view, these are tuning forks. It's very important that you look at them as tuning forks for a specific level of consciousness, a specific idea, an archetype, because that's what they are in essence throughout time and space. It's not like, I need to worship this thing. there's a level, in which, like I said, the mystics looking at the different deities and stuff like that. Once again, it's a tuning fork for a specific thing. And this is a literal thing in the framework of the Vedic and the Buddhist systems. So you work with the deity, some people have their altars and stuff like that. It's a way to, you said even through prayer, how you kind of submit and revere, a certain concept and idea, and you submit to that aspect of the self in order for it to manifest into your experience. And same thing when it comes to any type of deity or anything like that. They are tuning forks. It's nothing that's greater than you. You are equal to them. The essence of who and what you are is a vibrational match to God. So there is nothing out there greater than that. And when we're working with deities, you're developing a pathway to build a deeper relationship to God. The only people that will tell you otherwise are all the, super dualistic people, but they're also telling you that, to be out there spiritually gangbanging and create more, chaos in your life and to, whatever. But, everything is God, literally everything. There's nothing outside of that. It's nothing outside of, universal consciousness. So when we're working with specific deities, it's very important that you understand the metaphysics of it and what you're doing. You're not giving your power away to anything or anyone, but understanding what you're getting into before you start just going around with any type of, just anything. So there's a lawfulness to it, but this is why I primarily share like the Buddhist deities and stuff like that, because there's zero negatives that come with it. But Zambala works very, very well. And like I said, connecting to Zambala, there's different rituals to tune your subconscious into, working with Zambala and things like that. But you'll always be able to practice. And you'll have that stability and peace of mind. So you can, continue your path to service, your path of ascension. Super duper powerful. In Kabbalah, there's the angel of wealth. And the actual name, I don't even know how to pronounce it. Just Google Kabbalah angel of wealth. And that's there. Same thing, same concept. And like your idea of what wealth is and its universal nature is not what's taught, in society. Wealth is not, I'm going to accumulate $100 million, and that's not wealth. That's hoarding of a specific thing of value. But wealth is having the means to do what you need to do when it's time to do it and having no worries about it. That's what true wealth is on the financial level. And if you understand the spiritual aspects of it, you will always have that to the day that you die. Now, there's nothing wrong with building. There's nothing wrong with creating generational wealth. The negatives that come with it is people cling on to it as if, it's going to be this finite thing that's going to disappear one day and just dry up, because that's not it at all. So developing, once again, a proper relationship to it and understanding what wealth is in its universal nature and in the spiritual sense, it matters because it's your platform to be able to practice and develop yourself and to create the life that you want to achieve. But it could be any way, there's tons of different ways. People relate to it in many different ways. People go the academic route. I got to get the degree and go work for this company and, this and that or whatever. And that's your relationship to it. And that's how you get it. But there's limits to it. You're put into a box of this is how, you're going to achieve it. But it's up to you to decide how you want to do it. So the primary two that I suggest would be Zambala and in Buddhism, and you can search the greatest resources to search to get more information. There is a Tibetan Buddhist encyclopedia, really, really deep. The negative with looking up information on Buddhism is there's lots of Buddhists that don't understand Buddhism because it's a product of the spirit. All the higher spiritual knowledge and practices are a product of the spirit. It's not a product of the intellect. So lots of people look at the universal principles and Dharma and things like that in an intellectual manner purely, and they completely miss what it is in essence because it means something no matter which way you look at it. But it's something you have to experience firsthand to fully grasp and get. And that's why There's tons of books on Buddhism, on universal knowledge, on spiritual things and stuff like that, and they're filled with things that aren't true, because people look at it in a purely intellectual way, and you cannot do that. You have to balance the intuitive intellect to get deep insight into universal principles and to understand the higher spiritual aspects of life. It's like, what does something taste like? You can't write that down and then give it to somebody. You have to experience it firsthand to fully grasp it and get it. And I implore everybody to welcome that into their life, that you develop through firsthand experience what those divine principles are, what Dharma is, what universal, even Christ consciousness is, because it's something you have to experience firsthand. And there's levels to it. With all of this, and I don't, I'm sure TikTok is still running or whatever too. But for all of this, you cannot achieve that with drugs either. If you want to be financially stable, if you want to develop yourself spiritually, you cannot do it with plant medicines, with psychedelics, with any of that stuff, because you become too subject to the law of rhythm. And I mean that. It will create too much chaos in your life, especially if you're going into higher spiritual practices. Why so many, untruths out there. There's so many like negative things out there, and yes, people that do all types of stuff that have money, but they don't get it in this type of way and establish a base frequency of this is my relationship to it. But if you want to truly grow and see higher levels of truth and recognize higher universal principles, you cannot do it under substances. And I don't care what shaman tells you to come and do an Aya ceremony in Costa Rica and stuff like that. They're just a dealer, and they want your money. And they will let you do it 10 times in a row if you pay them. And that's not what it means to grow spiritually. It will not help you. It will not help you. And on that note, once again, there's people, there's no... when it comes to your finances and stability, there's stupid people with tons of money. There's, black people, white people, Asian people, every race, color, creed, everything. Money is not based off of your intelligence whatsoever. It's your relationship to it. It's purely your relationship to it. So developing a proper one, in which is always there, is very, very important. But it's up to you to decide what that is, and nobody can tell you what that is. I'm just here to give you some base level keys to access it and to develop a proper relationship. As we go deeper into this course, it's going to get really, really interesting. It's going to get really, really interesting, because this is the base level, and I want everybody to be able to have that foundation, because that's what stops a lot of people. And even in the higher level, like there's hermeticists out there that have tons of money. And, the end game to the hermeticists is stepping outside the system. Not just outside of your body, but entering into nirvana, and even transcending that into paranirvana. What stops people who already have the wealth from getting there is clinging on to the wealth, and that's a negative aspect. So if you find yourself in a state in which you are getting it, it's currency. It's a currency. You have to let it flow. You can't allow it to be stagnant. Right now, that doesn't mean you can't invest and save and this and that, but you have to, not cling on to it. I know plenty of friends that make, lots of money, and they have really horrible negative relationships to it. And they're cool in certain aspects, and they're horrible people in the next aspect, because they become their money. They have a really horrible attachment to it, and it keeps them in it puts them in this like, we talk about building power, a type of supernatural personality in which they become their money. And if you don't acknowledge their money or anything like that, then they feel offended, which is the most weirdest thing possible. You're everybody's human, and no matter how much money, you're still human. And I've met plenty of celebrities and superstars and everything. What up, bro? Just because you have X amount, it doesn't make you a greater person, a more intelligent person, a more divine person, or anything like that. We're all human. So once again, your relationship to it matters, and the karma that comes with that relationship is very, very important. So develop a proper one. I'm going to end this soon. It's 10:10 here. I don't want to keep everybody too long. And so frequency. When we speak about frequency and frequency of mind, it's what you frequently tune your mind into. One level of consciousness is knowing that everything is working in your favor. Everything. Every thought, every feeling, every interaction, every piece of information that you come into contact with, frequently, right? Tune your mind into this is for my betterment, and that you will attain wealth. Everything in your life is for that. And just observe your thoughts as you're tuned into that aspect. And it happens. Do not think anything else. If your greatest need is to get money, boom, don't think about anything else. If you think about anything else, act upon anything else, and that's what you're putting precedence over your need for money, for wealth. But if you develop, the tuning fork of, boom, I am wealthy, and everything that I do is to generate greater wealth and for it to flow with ease and grace, and that's what happens. But you have to develop that frequency. You have to keep it as a tuning fork in your mind. And if you can hold this in your mind for a week, I will start now, literally, boom, everything is going in that direction. New possibilities, new outcomes. Know that the universal mind will provide opportunities and people, places, and things to synchronize in order for you to achieve it. Just tune your mind into specifically that. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to do anything else. Just keep your alignment to that. Mentally, boom, this is what my mind is tuned into. Emotionally, I feel I can do this. I'm just, boom, paying attention. Act upon it. You'll find yourself getting deeper ideas. You'll find yourself, I don't know how long TikTok gonna be here or whatever things on TikTok. You don't even have to search it. I promise you, if you just keep your mind tuned into everything is working in my favor, and then I am going to generate X amount of wealth, and everything is working for that, and it will always flow and come, and I will never need for anything. Right? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Right? That's what that is for. But you have to take on that idea and that concept. You shall not want for anything. And it's a literal thing, but you have to tune into that. You have to make that the frequency of your mind, frequency of your spirit, to take access, to have access to it, and to take advantage of your divine abundance. Just keep your mind tuned into that. And I promise you, if you can do this for the whole next week, from the time you wake up, boom, everything's working in my favor. I shall not want. Everything will align. Even if you down to your last dollar, watch. You'll find yourself having greater ideas, right place, right time, people connected to you. Oh, I was thinking about you, whatever. Here goes a couple $100. Things will literally start to align, but it's the frequency of your mind. It is what you frequently focus on that is the frequency of your mind. And you can make it whatever you want it to be. But once you establish that, and this is principle that, 100 hours of just focusing on a specific thing, you create that resonance. That tuning fork is set. So if you can do that for this whole next week and just keep your mind tuned into this concept, this idea, you will literally start to see it. Like I said, you'll go through TikTok and, these are top 10 ways you can make money right now. There'll be things completely pertaining to you without searching anything, because that's the frequency of your mind. We're all connected. We're all one being. And this is understanding the collective consciousness. We're all connected consciously, subconsciously. And that's the aspect of us that is God in manifestation. We are all one being. And you can think about this as, when people call you, text you, you think about them before anything, because you're connected. Your minds are connected. Now, if you're in a box and you're just off to yourself, then you shut off that connection. But if you, once again, the psychology of, I am one with the universal mind, my abundance, my divine abundance comes from God, the intelligence of nature, of the universe, right? And you hold that, and everything that you do is tuned into that frequency, you'll find yourself opening up, vast doors of opportunity. Your abundance will flow, like crazy. But you have to see it for yourself. You have to welcome it into your life and align yourself to it and make that the frequency of your mind. And I promise you, you will have no problems coming. And this, the hardest thing about this, is one of the things I'm going to leave you with, is the most complicated part about this. And I'm not going to say complicated. It's just the hardest thing about this is building that faith, because despite the appearance of what's happening, you have to know in your heart that this is where it's going. And that's what faith is you have to know, despite appearances, that this is where it's going. And it's not a type of blind faith. But if you can overcome that obstacle, as things are clearing out the way for you to receive it, right? Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And then that faith, which some people view as blind faith, becomes a concrete evidence and fact that this is what's happening. This is my realm that I live in. This is my relationship to it. And you will always have it, especially once you can see it for what it is. And that's the hardest part for other people. You know, we cannot see our negatives. We cannot see our shadows. So you may align yourself and say, and even pray for certain things. Oh, I pray for wealth. I pray for this thing to come into my life. And as the universal mind is giving it to you, you cry because, oh my God, so-and-so left me, or they're being mean, or, you know, my car broke down or something like that. Oh, that car is stopping you from getting where you want to be. That person is stopping you from getting where you want to be. You know, all these different things are happening, you know, for your betterment, but the attachment to it and not, you know, practicing the art of just being, right? They talk about that in the Tao, the art of just being and allowing your divine nature to take place and take action. It's the art of non-action, right? And allowing it to be so you can achieve what you want to achieve. You know, we say we want all types of things, but we're not willing to let go of the things that's keeping us from it. That's the hardest part. That's the hardest part. It's kind of like the story of the man that was in the flood, right? And he's like sitting on the top of his house and somebody on a boat comes by. He's like, hey, you want to jump in or whatever? He's like, no, I'm waiting for God. My God's going to save me or whatever. And dude's like, okay, suit yourself. Just rides off. You know, somebody comes up on a canoe. Hey, look, I got an extra spot. You want to roll with me or whatever? I see you're, you know, on your roof or whatever. It's like, no, God's going to come get me, you know? And, you know, flood gets really bad, dude drowns or whatever, he's in heaven, he's talking to God, he's like, I believed in you, God, what happened? You know, why didn't you come save me? He's like, I sent 2 people, why you ain't go? You know, it's that, you know. But you set the tuning forks. Your life is exactly what you want it to be. Subconsciously, everything in your life is the manifestation of what you believe you can achieve. It's things you align yourself to. The people you're around, the environment you're in, the frequency of your mind, everything in your reality is a reflection of that. It's not the reflection of what reality is. It's a reflection of you and your relationship to things. So as you begin to change that, understand that that's what's happening. Whatever your belief structures are that you truly believe in, that's what's going to manifest. But it can be whatever it is. So as things begin to change in your life, especially if you're in those lower realms, there may be a little bit of chaos. That's what the dark night of the soul is. But that's to give you the trampoline to bounce into the next level. You know, not everything's going to be super chaotic. So as you begin to make these changes and as we begin to go in this journey and develop power, you know that everything is working in your favor, despite appearances. Everything is working in your favor. And it always is. The thing that stops people from this is acting in fear and you know, in anxiety. Oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen. You know, but if you can hold that faith and know, despite appearances, that everything is working in your favor, it is. And it will. And you will see why everything is happening. And you will always end up in a better position. Always. The state of the universe, the universe is founded upon evolution. And everything grows and evolves, but you have to be willing to grow and evolve with it in order to take advantage of it. So I hope that you do. For anybody that's interested, you know, this new course that we're doing is the Magical Path of Power. You can check out the link in the bio if you're on Instagram or TikTok. We are starting. This is like the first entry into it. Next week, we're going to go into Alchemy 101, energy development and awareness, 4 bases of power, all the basics and stuff like that. And then we're going to go into understanding how to transform energy from one state to another and building high level, psychic abilities and then literal power. And, you know, for functional ways in everyday life. Magic and alchemy is not about, you know, it's not purely about, oh, I'm going to commune with spirits or enter into different realms and stuff like that. It's primarily about the mundane things and enriching your life and enriching the lives of the people that you love and that you're in the path of service to. You know, so it's for everyday life and skills. So this is what this next course is for. So there's a couple different options or whatever. I usually do a yearly thing, but right now I got it set as like a monthly thing. You can check that out. Their link in the bio. We have an app Two, if you are already signed up and you don't have access to the app, you can check it out. But we have this. Let's see if it focuses on it. I'm not sure if it's going to focus or not. Maybe I'll step back. Anyway, yeah, so we have an app with tons of different videos and stuff like that where I go deep into, step by step. You get access to, it's not trying to zoom into it. You get access to like all the video libraries and stuff, and it goes really deep. So this Magical Path of Power, we're going to be doing this for about the majority of the year. And it's a monthly access. Also have a lifetime access because I'm going to be teaching for at least the next decade in many different ways, many different things from Qigong to, like I say, energy development, ascension, hermetics, all types of different psychic development as I, travel and then continue my journey. So if you're interested, I think it's still like one more of the lifetime packages available. But you can sign up for that. If you have any questions, you can message me. You can book a one-on-one. You can book a energy healing session. But other than that, I want to leave you guys with this and, change your relationship to everything. You can achieve whatever you can put your mind to, but you have to have space in your mind in order to take advantage of it. So open up that space and watch how your divine abundance comes to you. And once again, if you have any questions, I look forward to continuing this journey with everybody. It's just going to become more and more magical and powerful and beautiful. I look forward to seeing everybody in our Sagadawa trip in Cali. We also have a trip in Sedona in March, and that's in the link in the bio too. If you have any questions about that, once again, you can message me. But until next time, I will see you guys later. I hope you all have a very, very blessed and beautiful rest of your day, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.